The Unpaid Ledger. Episode 2. Debt Collector. Chapter 1. The phone rang at 6:47 a.m., which was the first sign something was wrong. Nobody calls me before noon unless someone's dying or already dead. I fumbled for the receiver, knocked over a glass of water I didn't remember leaving on the nightstand, and managed something like, "Vance." "Sam?" Marcus's voice. No smooth jazz preamble, no young man. Just my name, flat and hard. "You need to come to Pauline Vickers' office. Now." "Pauline?" I sat up, suddenly awake. Pauline was an adjuster. Good one, too. Careful. Professional. We weren't friends, but we'd worked a few jobs that overlapped, traded favors, respected each other's territory. "What happened?" "I don't know how to describe it." Marcus paused, and in 8 years, I'd never heard him pause. "Just come. And Sam, prepare yourself." He hung up. Eddie was already standing by the window, watching me. That didn't sound good. It wasn't. I was already pulling on clothes, not caring if they matched. Something happened to Pauline Vickers. The adjuster over on Clement Street? That's the one. Eddie's expression shifted. "I met her once. She was solid." "Yeah." I grabbed my coat, my keys, the canvas bag I kept for emergencies. She was. Pauline's office was on the 3rd floor of a converted brownstone in the Hillcrest district. Nice neighborhood. Quiet street. The kind of place where nothing bad was supposed to happen. The door was open when I got there. That was the second sign. Marcus stood in the hallway, leaning against the wall like he needed it to stay upright. He looked gray. Not tired gray. Sick gray. "In there," he said. "I'm not going back in." I walked past him. Eddie followed, then stopped at the threshold. "Sam." His voice was strange. I don't want to go in there." Eddie had been dead for 7 years. He'd seen things that would break most people. If he didn't want to go in, that meant something. I went in anyway. Pauline Vickers was sitting at her desk, or what was left of her. She looked like she'd aged 50 years overnight. Her skin had gone papery and thin, stretched over bones that seemed too sharp. Her hair was white, brittle, falling out in patches. Her hands were curled into claws, fingers bent at angles that shouldn't have been possible. But the worst part was her face. Her mouth was open in a silent scream, and her eyes were still alive, staring at nothing, seeing everything. She'd been balanced. I'd heard stories. Every adjuster had. The whispered warnings about what happened if you pushed too hard, moved too much, played too fast and loose with the ledger. All the costs you'd ever moved coming back at once, landing on you like a collapsing building. I'd never seen it before. Never wanted to. "Books and blood," I whispered. Eddie spoke from the doorway, still not crossing the threshold. "What could do this?" She was careful. She followed the rules. "I don't know." I made myself look at her. Really look. Tried to read what had happened. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't pushback from a bad job. This was deliberate. Targeted. "How can you tell?" I pointed at her desk. At the single word written in the dust, as if traced by a finger that wasn't quite human. "Ode." I found Marcus in the hallway, sitting on the stairs now. He had a flask in his hand. I didn't ask what was in it. "How long?" I asked. "I got a call an hour ago. Anonymous tip. Someone wanted her found." He took a drink, grimaced. "Wanted us to see." "Us?" "Adjusters. This is a message, Sam." I sat down next to him. My legs weren't as steady as I wanted them to be. "Who else knows?" "I've made some calls. Tommy Zhao, Rachel Forsyth, a few others." Marcus looked at me, and for the first time I saw fear in his eyes. Real fear. Tommy didn't answer. "Rachel said she's leaving town tonight, not coming back." "She's running? Wouldn't you?" I thought about Pauline's face, her eyes, the word in the dust. "Do we know what did this?" "I have a theory." Marcus took another drink. "And if I'm right, running won't help. Not for long. He stood up, suddenly old in a way I'd never noticed before. Come to the shop tonight. I'll tell you what I know. And Sam? Yeah? Watch your back. Whatever this is, it's not done. Pauline was just the beginning. He walked down the stairs and out into the morning light. I stayed where I was, listening to the silence of a dead woman's office. Eddie appeared beside me. Sam, that word on the desk. Owed. I saw it. Something thinks we owe it. All of us. Everyone who's ever moved a cost. I closed my eyes, thought about every job I'd ever taken, every cost I'd ever pushed, every balance I'd shifted. How many debts had I racked up without even knowing? Yeah, I said. Something does. Chapter 2. I spent the day pretending everything was normal. Took a call from a potential client, told them I was booked, ate lunch at a diner where nobody knew my name. Tried not to think about Pauline's eyes. By the time the sun went down, I'd given up pretending. Second chances looked different at night. Marcus had the shades drawn and the lights low, and when I tried the door, it didn't open. That was new. Marcus never locked up, not for me. I knocked, waited. The door opened a crack. One of Marcus's eyes peered out, caught the streetlight, then the door swung wide. Get in, quickly. I got in, quickly. The shop smelled different. Under the usual dust and residue, there was something sharper. Sage, maybe? Iron. The smell of protections being laid down in a hurry. You're scared, I said. I'm cautious. Marcus locked the door behind me, then added 2 bolts I'd never seen before. There's a difference. Is there? He didn't answer. Just led me deeper into the shop, past the shelves of strange objects, to the back room where he did his real work. A table was set up with candles, a silver bowl, and something that looked like a map drawn in chalk on black cloth. Eddie materialized beside me, looking around. He's got wards up. Strong ones. I noticed. Marcus gestured to a chair. Sit and listen carefully, because I'm only going to explain this once. What do you know about consequences? Marcus asked. They're costs. The other side of the balance. When something good happens, something bad has to land somewhere. That's the simple version. Marcus sat across from me, his hands folded on the table. The truth is more complicated. Consequences aren't just events. They're weight, pressure. And when you move them, when you push them from one place to another, they don't just disappear. They remember. Remember? Where they came from, where they've been, who touched them. Marcus leaned forward. Most of the time, it doesn't matter. A cost lands, it settles, it's done. But sometimes, rarely, but sometimes, a cost gets passed around, adjuster to adjuster, decade after decade, never settling, never landing, just moving. I thought about the jobs I'd taken, the costs I'd pushed. What happens then? It accumulates, grows, starts to develop something like awareness. Marcus's voice dropped. We call them collectors, because that's what they do. They collect what they're owed. Eddie shifted beside me. That's what happened to Pauline? That's what happened to Pauline. Marcus nodded. And to Tommy Zhao, almost. He survived, but barely. He's hiding now. Won't tell me where. Tommy was attacked? Last night. Same signature. The cold. The pressure. The sense of being watched by something that isn't quite there. Marcus pulled out a folded paper, slid it across the table. He sent me this before he went dark. I unfolded it. A list of names. 6 of them. Pauline Vickers was first, crossed out. Tommy Zhao was second. My name was fourth. Mother of pearl. Indeed. Marcus took the paper back. This thing has a list. It's working through it. And if I'm reading the pattern right, it's targeting everyone who touched a specific cost. Something that's been bouncing around for a very long time. How do we stop it? You don't stop a collector, Sam. You can't kill something that isn't alive. You can't fight something that isn't physical. Marcus met my eyes. You can only settle it. Give it what it's owed. Find a target it will accept. And if we can't? Marcus didn't answer. He didn't have to. I stared at the candles on the table, watched the flames flicker. Why me? I asked. I've moved a lot of costs, but so has everyone. What makes this one special? I don't know yet. I'm researching. Marcus hesitated. But Sam, there's something else. Tommy told me something before he went silent. He said when the collector came for him, it spoke. Spoke? One sentence. You touched what was mine. Then it started to take him apart. Marcus's voice was careful now. But when it senses you, and it will sense you, Sam, your name is on that list. It might say something different. Why? Because you're different. He spread his hands. I've known you for 8 years. I've watched you work. And I've seen things that don't add up. Costs that should have landed somewhere, but didn't. Weight that went through you and vanished. The room felt smaller suddenly. Colder. Marcus, I'm not asking for explanations. That's your business. He stood up, suddenly tired. But a collector doesn't just want what it's owed. It wants to understand. And if it senses that something is wrong with you, that the rules don't apply to you the way they should, it might not just try to collect. It might try to investigate. I thought about the gap, the place where costs disappeared, the years I'd lost. I need help, I said. More than you can give me. I know. Marcus pulled a card from his vest pocket. Old, worn, a phone number written in pencil. Derek Wade. You know him? We've met. He used to work for the Bureau. Saw things during his time there. Things like this. Marcus handed me the card. If anyone knows how to survive a collector, it's him. I took the card, looked at the number. Thanks, Marcus. Don't thank me yet. He started walking me toward the door. Thank me when you're still alive next week. Eddie fell into step beside me as I left. The night air was cold, and somewhere in the distance, I could hear sirens. Derek Wade, Eddie said. You trust him? Not really. But you're going to call him anyway. I looked at the card. At the name of a man I'd only met twice, both times under circumstances neither of us liked to talk about. Yeah, I said. I am. Chapter 3. I found a payphone outside a 24-hour laundromat, the same one I'd used the day before when the world still made sense. Derek picked up on the second ring. Didn't say hello. Who is this? Sam Vance. Marcus gave me your number. Silence. 3 seconds. 4. The adjuster. That's right. Marcus doesn't give out my number unless something's gone very wrong. His voice was low, flat, like gravel smoothed by a river. What's gone wrong? Pauline Vickers is dead. Tommy Zhao almost joined her. There's a collector working through a list, and my name's on it. More silence. I could hear him breathing, thinking. You know what a collector is? Marcus explained. Said you'd seen one before. Seen one? Survived one. Not the same thing as beating one. A pause. You got a pen? I patted my pockets. Found a stub of pencil. Go ahead. He gave me an address. Industrial district, not far from where the Belmont factory used to stand. I didn't ask why he lived there. People who lived in places like that usually had reasons they didn't want to share. 1 hour, he said. Come alone. I've got a partner. Sort of. The dead man? I blinked. You know about Eddie? I know a lot of things. The line clicked. He was gone. Eddie flickered into view beside me. He sounds friendly. He sounds like someone who might keep us alive. I pocketed the address. Let's go. The address led to a converted warehouse on the edge of the industrial district. No sign out front, no lights in the windows, just a steel door with a camera mounted above it. I knocked. The camera whirred, adjusted, focused on my face. The door opened. Derek Wade was built like a truck that had learned to walk upright. Early 40s, dark skin, shoulders that looked like they could stop a freight train. He wore a plain black t-shirt and jeans, and his arms were covered in scars that didn't come from any accident. He looked at me. Looked at the space beside me where Eddie was standing. He's here, Derek said. Not a question. You can see him? No, but I can feel him. Comes with the training. He stepped aside, gestured us in. Don't touch anything. The inside of the warehouse was sparse. A cot in one corner, a table with maps and papers, a heavy bag hanging from a chain, weights stacked against one wall. No TV, no books, nothing soft. This wasn't a home. It was a bunker. Nice place, Eddie said. Derek's eyes moved to the space where Eddie's voice had come from. Your friend has a mouth on him. He's working on it. No, I'm not, Eddie said. Derek almost smiled. Almost. Sit. We need to talk. I sat at the table. Eddie drifted to a corner, watching. Derek remained standing, arms crossed, looking down at me like he was deciding whether I was worth the trouble. You worked a job for me once, he said. 4 years ago, my sister's kid. I remember. I did. A cost that shouldn't have landed where it landed. A child who was paying for something that wasn't her fault. I'd moved it. Didn't charge him. You didn't take money. It wasn't that kind of job. Derek nodded slowly. That's why I'm talking to you instead of telling you to handle your own problems. I appreciate that. Don't. Not yet. He pulled out a chair, sat across from me. Tell me everything. From the beginning. I told him. Pauline's body. Marcus's warning. The list with my name on it. The word in the dust. Oh, Ed. Derek listened without interrupting. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. I saw a collector once, he said finally. During my time with the Bureau. 15 years ago, maybe. Small town in Ohio. 3 adjusters dead in a week. What happened? We tracked it back to the source. A cost from the 1950s. Factory accident. 12 workers dead, covered up by the company that owned the plant. Derek's voice was flat, reciting facts. The cost got passed around for decades. Adjuster to adjuster. Nobody wanted to hold it. Nobody wanted to place it. So it just kept moving. Until it woke up. Until it woke up. He nodded. By the time we found it, it had already collected from 4 people. We couldn't fight it. Couldn't contain it. The only thing we could do was find someone who actually owed the debt. The company? Gone. Dissolved in the 70s. But the family that owned it was still around. Still rich. Still living off money that was paid in blood. Derek's eyes were hard. We anchored the collector to the air. Gave it a valid target. Someone who'd benefited from the original crime. And it worked? It worked. The collector took what it was owed and moved on. The heir survived, but everything he had didn't. Money, property, health. The balance finally landed. I thought about that, about what it meant. So we need to find the origin of this one. Figure out who owes the original debt. That's the only way. Derek stood up, moved to the table with the maps. Tommy Zhao survived an attack. That means he knows something, felt something. If we can find him, we can trace the cost back to its source. Marcus said he went dark. Everyone goes somewhere. Derek pulled out a phone. Old model, no frills. I've got contacts, people who owe me. Give me a few hours. We might not have a few hours. Then we'd better work fast. He looked at me, then at the space where Eddie stood. Your friend? He's bound to you? More or less. Can he scout? Go places you can't? Eddie stepped forward, becoming visible. Derek didn't flinch. I can scout, Eddie said. What do you need? Tommy's last known address. See if there's anything left. A trail? A sign? Anything that tells us where he went. Derek held Eddie's gaze. Can you do that? Yeah, I can do that. Then do it. Derek turned back to me. You and I are going to make some calls, and pray we find Tommy before the collector does. I looked at Eddie. He shrugged, then faded out, heading north. Derek watched him go. Useful, he said. He has his moments. So do you, apparently. Derek handed me a phone. Burner, disposable. Start dialing. We've got work to do. Chapter 4. Eddie came back 2 hours later. I was on my 4th cup of coffee, and my 15th dead-end phone call. Derek was at his table, marking locations on a map with the focus of a man defusing a bomb. Found something, Eddie said, materializing by the door. Derek looked up, didn't flinch. I was starting to think nothing made this guy flinch. Tommy's apartment? Trashed. Whatever came for him, it hit hard. Eddie moved closer, his form flickering in the warehouse's dim light. But here's the thing. It wasn't random destruction. It was searching. Drawers pulled out, papers scattered, books thrown off shelves. Searching for what? I don't know. But Tommy knew they'd come looking. Eddie paused. He left a message, written on the bathroom mirror, in soap. Probably figured anything on paper would get found. What did it say? An address. In one word. Whitmore. Derek's head snapped up. Whitmore? Means something to you? Maybe. He was already moving, pulling files from a box in the corner. Whitmore's an old name in this city. Money going back generations. Most of it came from manufacturing. Factories? Among other things. Derek found what he was looking for, a yellowed newspaper clipping in a plastic sleeve. I keep records. Old cases, old patterns. Whitmore came up once years ago, before my time, but the file stuck with me. He handed me the clipping. The headline read, Whitmore Textile Plant Fire Claims 12 Lives. The date was March 15th, 1974. Mother of pearl, I said. That address Eddie found. Where is it? Eddie told him. Derek grabbed his jacket. That's a storage facility on the south side. Cheap, anonymous. The kind of place you go when you don't want to be found. Tommy's there? If he's smart, he is. Derek headed for the door. Let's go find out. The storage facility was exactly the kind of place Derek described. Rows of identical units, bad lighting, a chain-link fence with a lock that hadn't worked in years. The kind of place where people kept things they didn't want found, or hid when they didn't want to be found. Derek led the way, moving with a silence that shouldn't have been possible for a man his size. I followed, Eddie drifting beside me like a shadow. Unit 47, Eddie said. That's what the address said. We found it at the end of a row. The door was down, padlocked from the outside, but there was light leaking from underneath. Derek knocked. 3 times, slow. Tommy Zhao. It's Derek Wade. I'm here with Sam Vance. We're not here to hurt you. Silence. Then a voice, muffled through the metal. How do I know it's really you? Because if I was the thing that's hunting you, I wouldn't knock. More silence. Then the sound of something heavy being moved. The padlock clicked, opened from the inside somehow, and the door rolled up 6 inches. A face appeared in the gap. Asian, mid-30s, eyes that had seen too much too recently. Tommy Zhao looked like he hadn't slept in days. You're really Sam Vance? I'm really Sam Vance. Prove it. What job did we work together? 5 years ago? I thought back. The Hernandez case. Family curse that turned out to be a misplaced cost from a car accident in the 80s. You did the research. I did the push. Tommy's shoulders sagged. The door rolled up the rest of the way. Get in, quickly. It comes at night and the sun's almost down. The storage unit was cramped. A sleeping bag, some canned food, a laptop connected to a phone hotspot, and papers everywhere. Tommy had been researching, obsessively. Tell us what happened, Derek said. Tommy sat on a plastic crate, wrapped his arms around himself. 2 nights ago, I was at home, working late, and then it got cold. Not winter cold, wrong cold, like the heat was being pulled out of the air. The collector? I said. I didn't know what it was then. I just knew something was in my apartment with me. Something I couldn't see, but could feel. Tommy's voice shook. It spoke to me. One sentence. You touched what was mine. Then what? Then it started to take. I felt it pulling at me. Every cost I'd ever moved, trying to snap back at once. He held up his hands. They were trembling. I ran. I don't know how I got away. Maybe it wasn't ready. Maybe it was toying with me. But I ran, and I've been hiding ever since. The message on your mirror, Eddie said. Whitmore. What does it mean? Tommy looked at me, at Derek, at the space where Eddie's voice had come from. It means I know where this thing came from, and I know who owes the debt it's trying to collect. Tommy spread his papers across the floor of the storage unit. Printouts, photocopies, handwritten notes. The work of a man who knew he was being hunted and wanted to leave a trail. I touched this cost 8 years ago, he said. Didn't know what it was at the time. A colleague asked me to move something, said it was a small job, nothing complicated. I took the money and pushed it along. Pushed it where? To another adjuster. Woman named Carol Finch. She's dead now. Natural causes, I think, but who knows? Tommy pointed at a diagram he'd drawn. Names connected by lines. I started tracing it. After the attack, when I realized what was after me, followed the cost backward through everyone who'd touched it. How far back does it go? 50 years. Maybe more. Tommy pulled out the newspaper clipping, a copy of the same one Derek had shown me. It started here. March 1974. The Whitmore textile plant. 12 workers died in a fire. I know, Derek said. I've got the same file. Then you know what happened. The fire wasn't an accident. The plant had safety violations, locked exits, no sprinklers. The Whitmore family knew. They didn't care. When the fire happened, they paid an adjuster to make the cost go away. And the adjuster didn't place it. Couldn't. Or wouldn't. 12 deaths is heavy. Too heavy to land on any one target without destroying it. So they passed it along. And the next adjuster passed it along. And the next. Tommy's voice was bitter. 50 years of passing the buck. And now it's awake, and it wants what it's owed. I stared at the diagram. The lines connecting name after name. Adjusters who'd touched this cost and moved on, thinking they were done with it. The Whitmore family, I said. They're still around? Still around. Still rich. Still living in a mansion on the hill built with money from a factory where 12 people burned to death. Tommy looked at me. The current heir is a man named Jeffrey Whitmore, 42 years old. Inherited everything from his father, who inherited it from his father. He didn't start the fire, Derek said. He wasn't even born. No, but he's benefited from it his whole life. Every dollar he has, every comfort he enjoys, it all traces back to those 12 deaths that were never paid for. I thought about Kevin Marsh asking if his uncle was a bad person. Thought about inherited sins, inherited debts. If we anchor the collector to him, it'll take what it's owed. Tommy nodded. The balance will finally land. And maybe, it'll stop hunting the rest of us. Derek was already heading for the door. You got an address for this Jeffrey Whitmore? I've got everything. Tommy gathered his papers, stuffed them in a bag. I'm coming with you. No. Derek's voice was flat. You stay here. Stay hidden. If this goes wrong, someone needs to know what happened. And if it goes right, then you can come out when it's over. Derek looked at me. Let's move. We've got an heir to find. Chapter 5. The Whitmore estate sat on a hill overlooking Ashford like a king surveying peasants. 3 stories of old money architecture, manicured grounds, a gate with a guard booth. The kind of place that said, "We've been rich longer than you've been alive." How do you want to play this? I asked. Derek was studying the gate, the fence, the sight lines. Front door. Just walk up? You got a better idea? I didn't. We pulled up to the guard booth. A man in a uniform that probably cost more than my car leaned out, already skeptical. Can I help you? We need to see Jeffrey Whitmore, Derek said. It's urgent. Mr. Whitmore doesn't see visitors without an appointment. He'll want to see us. I leaned across Derek. Tell him it's about the Whitmore textile fire. March 1974. 12 dead. The guard's face went blank. Professional blank. The kind of blank that meant he'd been trained not to react. Wait here. He made a call, spoke quietly, listened. His eyebrows climbed toward his hairline. The gate opened. Follow the drive to the main house. Mr. Whitmore will meet you in the study. We drove through. The grounds were immaculate. Fountains, gardens, trees that had been old when my grandfather was young. All of it paid for with money that should have gone to 12 families who'd lost everything in a fire 50 years ago. Nice place, Eddie said from the back seat. Blood money buys nice things, Derek said. He wasn't wrong. Jeffrey Whitmore was waiting in a study lined with books that had never been read. He was younger than I expected, early 40s. Fit, expensive haircut, the kind of tan you get from vacations in places most people can't afford to visit. He didn't offer us seats. Who are you? And what do you know about the textile fire? My name is Sam Vance. This is Derek Wade, and we're here to save your life. Jeffrey laughed. It wasn't a pleasant sound. Save my life? Is this some kind of scam? Because I should warn you, my lawyers. In 1974, Derek cut in, your grandfather's factory caught fire. 12 workers died. The doors were locked. The sprinklers didn't work. Your family knew the building was a death trap, and they didn't care. The laugh died. Jeffrey's face went hard. That was investigated. The company paid settlements. It was tragic, but it was 50 years ago. The settlements weren't enough. I stepped closer. Your grandfather hired someone to make the consequences go away. Someone like me, an adjuster. Someone who moves costs from one place to another. I don't know what you're talking about. The cost of 12 deaths should have landed on your family. Instead, it got passed around, shuffled, hidden, for 50 years. I held his gaze. But costs don't disappear, Mr. Whitmore. They accumulate. And now they're awake, and they're coming to collect. Jeffrey stared at me. I could see him trying to decide if I was crazy, dangerous, or both. Get out of my house. 2 nights ago, an adjuster named Pauline Vickers was killed. Every cost she'd ever moved snapped back on her at once. She aged 50 years in seconds. Her bones broke. Her organs failed. I didn't blink. Last night, another adjuster was attacked. He barely survived. There's a pattern, a list. Everyone who ever touched the cost your grandfather tried to bury. This is insane. Feel the air, Derek said quietly. Jeffrey frowned. Then his eyes widened. The temperature in the study was dropping, slowly at first, then faster. My breath started to mist. The lights flickered. It's here, Eddie said from beside me. Jeffrey was looking around wildly. What's happening? What? It found you, I said, and we're the only chance you have. The cold came first, then the pressure, a weight in the air that made it hard to breathe, hard to think. The lights died completely, leaving us in darkness broken only by moonlight through the windows. And then I felt it. The collector. It didn't have a shape. Not exactly. It was more like a density in the air, a place where reality was heavier than it should be. It moved through the study like a shark through water, circling, assessing. Jeffrey was pressed against his desk, white-faced, trembling. What is that? What is that? 50 years of unpaid debt, Derek said. He'd positioned himself near the door, not running, just ready. 12 deaths that never landed where they should. I didn't kill anyone. I wasn't even born. No. I stepped forward, toward the pressure, toward the cold. But you've lived off it your whole life. Every dollar you have, every comfort, every advantage. It all traces back to 12 people who burned to death so your family could avoid the consequences. The collector turned. I felt its attention like a spotlight, cold and absolute. You touched what was mine. The voice came from everywhere and nowhere. Not sound exactly. More like meaning pressed directly into my skull. I've touched a lot of things, I said, but I'm not why you're here. You are wrong. The pressure intensified. I felt it probing, pushing, trying to understand. Costs pass through you and do not land. Where do they go? My heart was pounding. This thing could feel my anomaly, could sense the gap where my costs disappeared. I don't know, I said. And it was the truth. The collector considered. The pressure shifted. For a moment, I thought it might abandon Jeffrey and focus on me instead. Then Derek spoke. The debt is his, Jeffrey Whitmore. heir to the blood money, beneficiary of 12 deaths that were never paid for. His voice was steady, certain. He's the valid target. Take what you're owed. The collector turned. Jeffrey screamed. I moved. I grabbed Jeffrey's arm with one hand and pressed my other palm flat against the floor. The connection snapped into place. Source and target. Debtor and collector. Take it, I said. The debt is his. The balance lands here. I pushed. Not a cost of my own. I was just the conduit, the channel, pointing the collector where it needed to go, giving it permission to collect. The cold intensified. Jeffrey's scream cut off. He convulsed, eyes rolling back, as 50 years of deferred consequences finally found their home. I felt it flowing through me. Not the full weight, that was landing on Jeffrey, but the echo. 12 deaths. 12 families destroyed. 50 years of compound interest on a debt that should have been paid in 1974. Jeffrey collapsed. The collector settled. Like a storm that had finally found shore. The pressure eased. The cold faded. The lights flickered back on. And then it was gone. Jeffrey was on the floor, breathing, but unconscious. He looked older. Not 50 years older like Pauline, but older. Gray in his hair that hadn't been there before. Lines on his face. Is he dead? Eddie asked. I checked his pulse. No, but he's going to wake up with nothing. The balance took everything. Money, property, investments. It'll all be gone by morning. Debts coming due, contracts falling through, assets turning to dust. He'll survive, Derek said. More than the 12 in that factory got. I stood up, looked at the empty space where the collector had been. Sam? Eddie's voice was quiet. That thing. It noticed you. It was interested. I know. It asked where your costs go. I know. What happens when something else asks that question? Something that doesn't get distracted by a valid target? I didn't have an answer. Derek moved toward the door. We should go, before the staff comes to check on him. I took one last look at Jeffrey Whitmore, heir to nothing now, and followed Derek out into the night. Chapter 6. We drove in silence for a while. The kind of silence that comes after something big, when words feel too small for what just happened. Derek broke it first. You did good in there. I pointed a cosmic debt collector at a man who never killed anyone and let it destroy his life. I stared out the window at the passing streetlights. Not sure good is the word I'd use. He inherited the benefit. That makes him liable. Does it? Derek glanced at me. You having second thoughts? I'm having thoughts. Not sure what kind yet. I rubbed my eyes. 12 people died in that fire. Their families got nothing. Whitmore's family got rich. Maybe it's justice. Maybe it's just more cost shifting. I honestly don't know. That's the job. Derek's voice was flat, but not unkind. We don't get to deal in clean answers, just cleaner ones. Is that why you left the bureau? Silence. I'd pushed too far, maybe. But Derek surprised me. I left because I got tired of being told which debts mattered and which ones didn't. He kept his eyes on the road. The bureau has rules, priorities. Sometimes those priorities mean letting the wrong people walk away clean while the right people pay for things they didn't do. And you couldn't stomach it anymore. Something like that. He pulled onto the street where his warehouse sat. There was a case, a bad one. I made a choice the bureau didn't like. They gave me an out, resign quietly, or face an inquiry. I resigned. What was the choice? Derek parked the car, killed the engine, sat there for a moment, hands on the wheel. Maybe I'll tell you someday, when we know each other better. He opened his door. Tonight, we survived. That's enough. I couldn't argue with that. She was waiting by the warehouse door. Same gray suit, same silver scale pin, same expression that said she'd been there long enough to be annoyed about it. Mr. Vance? Mr. Wade. Miriam Tate's eyes moved between us. Interesting partnership. Derek went still beside me. Tate. Wade. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. It's been a while. I heard you'd left the bureau. Didn't expect to find you working with freelancers. Times change. They do. She turned her attention to me. 2 adjusters dead in Ashford this week, Mr. Vance. Pauline Vickers, and as of 3 hours ago, a man named Gerald Foster. Number 3 on a list, I believe. Gerald Foster. Third name on the list. The collector had kept working even while we were tracking it. We handled it, I said. Did you? Miriam pulled out a small notebook, flipped it open. I have reports of a disturbance at the Whitmore estate tonight. Security found Jeffrey Whitmore unconscious in his study. He's in the hospital now. Doctors say he aged 15 years in a matter of minutes. His finances are already collapsing. Accounts frozen, assets seized, debts coming due that no one knew existed. Sounds like a personal problem. It sounds like a cost landing where it was supposed to land 50 years ago. Miriam closed the notebook. I'm not here to arrest you. I'm not even here to accuse you of anything. I'm here because something is happening in Ashford, and you keep appearing at the edges of it. I'm an adjuster. Strange things are my job. Strange, yes, but this is different. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. The balance in this city is off, has been for months. Small discrepancies at first, but they're getting larger. Costs that vanish without landing. Debts that disappear mid-transfer. I've been tracking the pattern, and do you know what I keep finding at the center of it? I didn't answer. I didn't need to. You, Mr. Vance. Miriam's eyes were sharp. I don't know what you are or what you're doing, but I know you're not normal. And sooner or later, I'm going to figure out exactly how abnormal you are. Is that a threat? It's a promise. She stepped back, straightened her jacket. Good night, gentlemen. I'm sure we'll talk again soon. She walked away into the darkness. Derek and I watched her go. That's not good, Eddie said from beside me. No, I agreed. It's not. Derek went inside. Said he needed sleep. Said I should get some too. I didn't go home. Instead, I sat on the hood of my car, staring up at a sky too bright with city lights to show any stars. Eddie sat beside me, visible now, solid enough to almost look alive. The collector knew, he said. Yeah, it felt you. Felt that something was wrong. Asked where your costs go. I remember. I was there. Sam. Eddie's voice was serious, worried. That thing was ancient. 50 years of accumulated weight, and it still noticed you. Still got curious. What happens when something older notices? Something smarter? Something that doesn't get satisfied with a Whitmore heir? I thought about Miriam Tate, tracking patterns in the balance. Thought about Marcus, who'd seen things that didn't add up. Thought about the gap inside me where costs disappeared into nothing. I don't know, I said. That's not good enough. It's what I've got. I slid off the hood, fished my keys from my pocket. The collector is settled. Tommy Zhao is safe. Jeffrey Whitmore is paying a debt his family should have paid decades ago. That's a win. Is it? It's the best we've got tonight. Eddie was quiet for a moment. Then, you can't keep dodging this, Sam. Whatever you are, whatever's happening to you, it's not going away. And the more you use your abilities, the more things are going to notice. I opened the car door, looked at my partner, my debt, my friend. Then I'd better figure it out before they do. The drive home was quiet. The radio crackled with static, caught a fragment of something that might have been music, then went silent. I left it on anyway. Somewhere out there, the ledger was turning its pages, tallying its accounts, noting the debts that had been paid and the ones that were still outstanding. And somewhere, in whatever strange space my cost disappeared to, something was accumulating, growing, waiting. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know when it would come due. But I was starting to understand that the bill always arrives eventually. And mine was going to be one hell of a reckoning.